Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to kick off our presentation today. Today, we're going to explore how to master voice control for dynamic classrooms. The title of our session is Mastering Voice Control for Dynamic Classrooms, with a fun subtitle, Turning the Volume Up and Down. Over the next few minutes, we'll look at practical ways to use voice commands to create a more engaging and adaptable learning environment. So, let's dive in and see how these tools can transform your teaching experience. Let's talk about what happens when we create a wall of sound. When there's too much noise, students tend to simply turn off. They stop paying attention because the environment becomes overwhelming. This also blocks intimate activities, things like personal conversations or close interactions, because the noise level is just too high to hear or engage effectively. Now, a common trap is the public announcement voice, raising your voice to be heard over the chaos. But this only makes things worse, amplifying the noise and making it even harder for students to focus. So the key point here is stop. We need to recognize that excess noise leads to chaos. It creates a distracting environment, noise, that hinders learning and meaningful interaction. Keeping the noise level in check is crucial for maintaining a productive and engaging space. Let's talk about the power of using quietness strategically to keep students engaged. Sometimes, a well-placed pause or a moment of silence can really capture attention and create anticipation. It's a simple but effective way to break the monotony and keep the classroom dynamic interesting. Now, don't be afraid to use the full spectrum of voice volumes. That means switching from soft, gentle tones to loud, commanding voices when the situation calls for it. Creating this range in your voice helps hold students' interest and emphasizes key points. The idea is to match your volume to each particular moment in class. For example, when you want to highlight something important, raising your voice slightly can make a big impact. Conversely, lowering your volume can invite students to listen more carefully or reflect quietly. This is really about making conscious choices about your volume. By being aware of and deliberate with your voice levels, you can influence the classroom atmosphere and student engagement. Remember, the key concepts here are impact and choice, using your voice intentionally to shape the learning experience. When we harness the power of our voice consciously, we create a more engaging and dynamic classroom environment. Let's talk about the idea of whispering versus shouting. When you shift from a whisper to a shout, it sparks curiosity. Students are naturally drawn in because they have to stop what they're doing, pause their own noise, and really tune in to hear what you're saying. Now, when I mention a quiet voice, it might seem counterintuitive, but often this is what students tune out as just background noise. They learn to ignore it because it doesn't stand out. It's like a wall of sound, constant noise that becomes invisible to them. But here's the interesting part. A loud voice, or what we might think is more effective, actually has a counterintuitive truth behind it. Sometimes, raising your voice just makes people tune out more, especially if it's over the noise they already ignore. So, understanding this helps us realize that sometimes, the most powerful way to get attention isn't by shouting, but by creating a moment of silence or using a quieter, more deliberate tone. That's how we truly engage students and make our message stand out. Remember, it's all about how we use sound to communicate effectively and capture attention in ways that genuinely resonate. Let's talk about the importance of the mirror. When you lower your volume, your class tends to become calmer. It's a simple yet powerful concept. Students naturally reflect your energy, so if you're calm and quiet, they usually will be too. Instead of shouting to get attention or control the room, try speaking quieter. This often has a more effective and respectful impact. Remember, if the class gets noisy, raising your voice isn't the solution. Shouting can escalate the noise rather than reduce it. The key idea here is that students mirror the teacher's volume. By being mindful of how loudly we speak, we influence the overall classroom atmosphere. This approach supports the overall theme of creating a respectful, calm, and engaging learning environment. Great! Now, let's talk about matching your voice to the activity. For high-energy games or when you need to grab everyone's attention quickly, a loud voice is really effective. It helps energize the group and keeps everyone engaged. On the other hand, when you're giving instructions or trying to set a calm, focused mood, a quiet voice works much better. It creates a relaxed atmosphere and helps everyone concentrate. The key is to match your volume to the task at hand. Remember, using the right volume can make your communication much more effective and help you achieve your goals more smoothly. All right, everyone, let's start by creating some immediate focus and curiosity in the room. The best way to do that is by getting the class to gradually calm down without drawing too much attention. And here's a key point: don't raise your voice. Instead, keep your tone steady and consistent as you go along. Now, I suggest beginning your lesson at a reduced volume, almost like a whisper. This subtle shift naturally grabs students' attention and signals that something different is happening. Starting with a whisper might feel a little unusual, but it's incredibly effective. It sets a calm, focused tone right from the start. Remember, the goal is to connect with your students in a way that makes them curious and eager to listen. So, by using this quiet approach, you're not only creating a peaceful environment, but also engaging their attention in a unique way. All right, now let's talk about levels beyond normal. This technique is designed to boost attention without actually raising your voice. The idea is to use a level of quiet that still allows students to recognize that you're engaging with them, but you're not getting louder or more aggressive. It's important to remember that even when you're speaking at this level, you still remain yourself. Your natural tone and personality come through. Sometimes, students might need a little reminder, so don't hesitate to repeat if necessary, but try to keep your volume unusually low. This isn't about whispering or shouting, but about intentionally lowering your voice to create a different kind of focus. You can use this technique along with others, like giving clear instructions or emphasizing key points. For example, if you want students to pay attention during a tricky part, you might say, "For this part, I want you to listen carefully," with a very quiet voice. Just remember, it's called the extreme quiet instruction for a reason. It's about going to the far end of quiet to grab their attention. And sometimes, just a simple quiet, or SHHH, in an extremely low tone can be enough to bring everyone back to focus. The key is to be consistent and intentional with this approach, so students learn to recognize and respond to this level of quiet without it feeling unnatural or disruptive. Overall, this technique helps you maintain control and focus in a calm, confident way, using silence as a powerful tool to guide your classroom. Let's talk about the magic of storytelling. It captivates students by encouraging them to tune in, making anecdotes feel truly special and memorable. When we tell a story, we draw students into the narrative, helping them feel more connected and engaged. This creates an intimate atmosphere where learning feels personal and meaningful. One powerful technique I want to highlight is quiet storytelling. Sometimes, using silence or a calm, quiet tone can really emphasize key moments and keep students attentive. Overall, these storytelling methods are essential because they foster a deeper connection, making lessons more impactful and memorable for students. All right, let's take a closer look at the volume scale on this slide. As you can see, it ranges from silence at the very bottom to a loud, game-leading volume at the top. Each level plays a crucial role in how we communicate effectively. Starting with silence, which is essentially a pause, this is a powerful tool. It gives your audience a moment to absorb information or to build anticipation. Moving up, we have low volume, which is great for instructional points. Think of it as guiding your audience gently without overwhelming them. Next, there's normal or conversational volume. This is your everyday speaking voice, perfect for engaging your audience in a natural, relatable way. When you want to emphasize a point or add some excitement, you can raise your voice to loud, game-leading levels, ensuring your message stands out. Finally, the loud or game-leading level is used sparingly, but when it's employed strategically, it commands attention and energizes the room. Think of it as the climax of your delivery. Connecting all these points, understanding and finding your perfect range on this scale allows you to control the mood and engagement of your presentation. It's about matching your volume to your message and the context, making your communication more impactful. Remember, mastering this range will help you connect better with your audience and keep them engaged from start to finish. So, what happens when you try a lower volume? Well, you might notice that your voice becomes less commanding, and it can sometimes make it harder for students to stay engaged or hear you clearly. It's important to think about how lowering your volume impacts your communication and the overall classroom atmosphere. Now, when do you feel you must be loud? Are there specific moments, like during important instructions or to regain attention? Recognizing those times helps you use your voice intentionally and effectively. Do you consciously vary your volume during your lessons? This is a key skill because varying your volume can emphasize key points and keep students interested. It's about being aware of how your voice supports your teaching style and the flow of the lesson. And honestly, are you naturally a loud or quiet teacher? Understanding your natural tendency is helpful because it can influence how you manage your voice. If you're naturally quiet, you might need to be more deliberate about projecting. If you're loud, maybe you need to tone it down at times to maintain a calm, focused environment. These questions are really for your reflection. Think about your own voice and how it impacts your teaching. The goal is to become more conscious of your vocal habits and use them to enhance your connection with students. So I encourage you to really think about your voice, how you use it, when you need to be louder, and when you might benefit from a softer approach. Your voice is a powerful tool. Use it intentionally to support your teaching and engage your students effectively. Your voice truly matters in shaping the classroom environment. When you speak with purpose and clarity, you set the tone for highly attentive students who are more engaged and ready to learn. A dynamic classroom atmosphere isn't just about loud voices. It's about the quality of your voice and how it influences your students' behavior. The key here is that your calm and controlled voice can serve as a mirror for your students. When they see you maintaining composure, they're more likely to mirror that calmness themselves. This creates a more focused and respectful learning space. Using quietness strategically can actually spark curiosity. When you lower your volume, it draws students in and encourages them to listen more intently. It's a simple but powerful way to keep their attention without resorting to raising your voice or creating a wall of sound that can be overwhelming and counterproductive. Remember, mastering your volume is essential. It's not about being loud or quiet all the time. It's about knowing when to use your voice effectively. When you do, success follows, a classroom where students are attentive, curious, and respectful. So keep in mind, your voice truly matters. By controlling your volume and using it thoughtfully, you create an environment where everyone can thrive. Success in your teaching starts with mastering this simple yet vital skill.